Oh, hi. I encountered one of those Facebook memes, and I wanted to get into this because, I think that part of where we've gone wrong is just other people have covered this topic before, but one of the things that seems to be sowing some confusion is this acronym PEMDAS, right, for the order of operations, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and so you're seeing it, and god damn, that's way too small. Let's see if we can blow it up beyond, so that people can actually see. People they only tend to remember this, and then they've got that little, cutesy memnotic for, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, which is what most people remember with PEMDAS. And if you've been away from math class for a while, you're probably going to remember it exactly like that, and you're going to make as a pattern recognizing machine that humans are, you're probably going to make this confusion, you know, of thinking that, you know, that what's going on is, basically part of the problem is that we're not realizing that, of these last two, you know uh, digits here, in a separate as a separate group from parentheses and exponents, so they need to be removed. And then once we move on to, multiplication and division and addition and subtraction, what you need to remember about this, and what's so key and often forgotten from math class, is that these two, multiplication and division, are of equal weight or precedence, or whatever word or verbiage you want to use to describe them. They're not, you know, it's not that multiplication has a higher precedence than division, it's that they're of equal weight in the order, and the same with addition and subtraction, which are done last. So, you would do. So the way that, I think about this, I think about Boolean logic, within computer programming is where I come to it. And, if I were programming a computer to tell it this, I would say that, you know, to do multiplication or division, first would be probably the verbiage that I would use. So if basically telling it that if you saw multiplication come first in the left to right order, do multiplication first, but if you see division come first in the left to right order, do the division first. And I saw some examples of this where, you know, this could be, this could go in a completely wrong direction, because this is just an example of how somebody would screw this one up. They would see this and they would think that, multiplication is of higher precedence because they've forgotten the fundamental aspect of this, which is that actually you're supposed to group the 8 divided by 4, for this one, and then you would get the erroneous result of 16 from doing it wrong that way. But in reality, how you're actually supposed to do it, because 8 is of, division and subtraction are of equal precedence and weight, would be to divide 8 by 4, getting you to, 2, and then 2 times 2 is 4, and all that's left is 4 plus 15, yielding 19. You know, so this is actually how it's supposed to be done. This is the actual right answer to the same equation. And I think that this is what is, this part of the problem is what's causing so much confusion, is that most people, you know, like this points out, like they forget, this aspect of it, which is just, first of all, there's a left-right precedence to this, because that's how we do things in the English-speaking world. But then there's also just that, multiplication isn't actually of higher precedence than division. If division comes first, it's in the left to right order, it's of higher precedence than multiplication. The evaluation. So basically, you're scanning, you know, from left to right, and if division comes first, you do the division first. If multiplication comes first, you do the multiplication first, and then you move on to addition or subtraction problems, in this equation. But the full thing is that first you check to see if there are any parentheses, and there are none here. Then you check to see if there are any exponents, and there are none here. And then you check the left to right order, and then you go and you check and see if there's multiplication. If multiplication were here first, if it was 8 times 4, then you'd do 8 times 4. But in this case, we have 8 divided by 4, which gets us to 2 as the first thing, and then we'd times then we'd do 2 times 2 plus 15, which is 4 plus 15, which it was 19, and that's how it's really supposed to be done in the whole thing. And like I said, like I was trying to indicate, what's causing so much confusion in the math world is that people are looking at multiplication and division and thinking this comes higher or first in the order, and so it's of higher precedence, and in reality, no. One suggested alteration, even though it makes us cringe, multiplication, would be to group them in this fashion, so that people can see that they're of equal weight, or precedence as another verbiage that you would use for it. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a left to right evaluation that goes with this, and then it's multiplication or division, whichever comes first, and then it's addition and subtraction, whichever comes first, in the left to right order, and that's how you do it. That should clear up any confusion.